Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. We're going to be talking about this boring episode of Smackdown from June the 30th, 2023. But first, we got to talk about Droz and his passing. So Darren Drozdov, the former wrestler for WWF, who was injured in 1999 and confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life, passed away at age 54. Droz had an interesting WWE career in which they never seemed to have any idea what to do with him or even why he was hired in the first place. I mean, the guy got a job because he could puke on demand. And then Vince gave him the nickname Puke and literally nothing else. No direction, no character, nothing. He was just a guy on the roster. Then out of nowhere, he was in the Legion of Doom, you know, as the sort of alternate when Hawk was having his alcoholism problems. It was a very weird stint in the business for Droz, because they seemingly had high hopes for him, but never any plans for him. Of course, he was injured in, I think, in a dark match or a TV taping with D'Lo Brown. Him and D'Lo have talked about it numerous times in numerous podcasts, and there's tons of video out there. He was pretty upbeat, and I think that this says a lot that he was still upbeat and still positive, even though he was confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I hope that if something terrible was to happen to me, I would have that kind of good nature. I would hope that I wouldn't, carry any bitterness. I would hope that I wouldn't carry any ill will towards the person who did it. And Droz is a guy who, at the very least, people can appreciate that he maintained positivity even during the scope of that injury and all of the time that he spent on the sideline, unable to do what he was trained to do. The Rock and Mark Merrow put out 2 pretty good tweets about him. The Rock tweeted out, "Man, I'm sorry to hear one of our ring brothers has passed away. Darren Drozdov, aka Droz. We wrestled a lot of the cards together. Such an awesome dude, great personality, and great wrestling talent. We always talked about football and fishing, sending love, strength, mana, and light to his family. R.I.P. brother." Mark Merrow says, "Very sad to hear former WWE wrestler Darren Drozdov has died. He was an amazing man with a great attitude. His own words sum up his relentless positivity in the midst of adversity. There is always another day. Just because I'm paralyzed and stuck in a wheelchair doesn't mean my life is over. I learned to live again, and my life is far from over. I wrestled him numerous times, and we were in many cities together. He also starred in the NFL, a nose tackle for the Denver Broncos. Rest in peace." So there's quite a few other people who have, I don't want to be here all day with this, but it was an interesting thing. It's sad that this is what Droz is known for, but it's great that he maintained a positive mental attitude. I believe he has 2 daughters, or a son and a daughter. I don't remember which one it was, but he does have children. And because he has children, it is very special that he stayed strong for them and he stayed positive for them. And I hope that I will have that kind of grace when I get older. So RIP Droz. Now let's get into Smackdown, which was a show that I was able to watch it unspoiled. I didn't see anybody spoil anything. Well, the reason why nobody spoiled anything is because nothing happened. Just a whole bowl of nothing happened. Match 1, Pretty Deadly versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens win in an absolutely flat match. The match was flat as a gingerbread man. Flat as a sheet of paper. It was ridiculous. Now, Pretty Deadly, they are coming into their own. I knew that Pretty Deadly weren't going to win. I mean, it's too soon. But their entrance is really ridiculous now. Now they have added disco balls to the entrance. They've also added disco, I don't know what you want to call it, graphics to the entrance, where there's like roller skates and people in the disco colors dancing and stuff. And I was just thinking to myself, like, why disco? Of all the things, Why disco? What about them screams disco? You know, like, is this Disco Stu and Disco Stan? Like, why are they disco dancers now? I don't understand what's going on here. And it actually fits the theme song, you know, because they changed their theme song to whatever that crap is. And I guess the disco theme fits, but somebody's got to explain to me. I thought they were annoying Zoolander types. I haven't seen Zoolander, so maybe being disco was part of the Zoolander stereotype. But since I haven't seen it, I don't know. But can somebody explain to me what disco has to do with this, other than disco being profoundly gay? Which I know a lot of people are going to say, like, well, disco is super gay, you know. Maybe, but why disco? But the disco ball in the entrance was great. I like that. When they added all these accoutrements to Pretty Deadly, I actually believed that they could win. But alas, the T-shirt gang won the match. Why is Sami Zayn wrestling in a T-shirt? And why is they allowing Sami Zayn to wrestle in a T-shirt? Is he untanned? He already had no physique. Is he not working out anymore? Why is he wrestling in a T-shirt? Why are these the T-shirt guys all of a sudden? I don't know. Pretty Deadly, I like these guys. They did the slingshot code breaker, which they call a dry martini, which is I thought that was great. It's an interesting move. I understand now what Jim Cornette complains about simultaneous tag outs. Like when they did it in this match, it actually jumped out at me at how it disturbed the flow of the match. That when you actually are building towards a hot tag, because I believe it was Sami Zayn. No, it was Kevin Owens, because he was selling the ankle. And he was down and out. And both men, both him and whatever member of Pretty Deadly that was, they went to their separate corners. Instead of Pretty Deadly trying to stop him from tagging out, they basically let him tag out so that they can tag out. And it actually killed the hot tag. Like, you lost the hot tag. Even though people are still happy that Sami Zayn is coming in, it's not nearly the same as it would have been if somebody would have tried to stop you. Like, psychologically, the hot tag with the opponent is actually trying to stop you from tagging out is infinitely better, you know, than this simultaneous tag out that they've started doing. And this match really made it jump out at me, especially because of how flat the finish was. And I was like, man, it almost felt like it never really got started, you know, but it was fine, I guess. Pretty Deadly was basically being tested here. They did good. So whatever. Adam Pearce, he was backstage and he got confronted by the Brawling Brutes. Ridge Holland was upset, wanted to fight Solo Sikoa. It wasn't going to happen. But he says that, I'm not good enough to have a banger in England. And then he ended up in a match with Austin Theory. And if he won the match, he gets a shot at the United States Championship. So the championship contenders match is back. Oh boy. Everybody's like, oh my God, championship contenders. Vince is back. Ridge Holland is having, I think this was one of his very few singles matches in WWE. I forgot how much of a brick shithouse Ridge Holland is. Like, this is a built guy. This is a big man. All right. Now, it's very ironic that the day that Droz passes away due to an injury caused by a usually safe worker, that, you know, Ridge Holland gets a singles match, and he was the guy who injured Big E, who still hasn't come back yet. And a lot of people have kind of given up on Ridge Holland due to, you know, the Big E botch. But I can't think of too many wrestlers that haven't made the mistake of hurting somebody. You know, there's very, very few who have never actually injured anybody. I mean, like, seriously, you know, even usually sure-handed wrestlers make mistakes. Ridge Holland was a rookie. He made a rookie mistake. But I'm not going to lie. When he was doing suplexes to Austin Theory tonight, man, I was watching him like a hawk. Especially when he was doing all of the overhead stuff. Like, he did a bunch of, like, overhead belly to bellies. He did, like, a Taz mission. He did, even did the double underhook suplex that only I've seen, like, Al Snow do. Like, he has really mixed up his moveset that really about throwing guys over his head. Like, he's going to master throwing people over his head now that he botched the thing with Big E. But he looked solid. Austin Theory sold for him. He gave him a lot. And then the finish happened, and the finish made Ridge Holland look like a goddamn rookie. He made like a job guy. Now, yes, the story made sense, and we'll explain it. So, Austin Theory actually wins with his rolling drop kick, which at first I was like, oh my God, what is this? But then I thought about it, and they were still telling the story of Ridge Holland in the throat from the Samoan spike. So when Austin Theory got outside the ring, he yanked Ridge Holland's arm into the top rope or the middle rope or something like that. And so his throat bounced off that rope. And then Austin Theory slingshot his way into the ring, and the drop kick hit him right in the neck. So they basically was like, okay, he was targeting the neck area, and Ridge Holland was down. I still don't like it for a guy the size of Ridge Holland, but okay. It is what it is. But Ridge Holland might have something. I think I said it when he was in NXT. The guy can find a personality. I think he might have something. And hopefully they won't hold this injury thing against him forever, because I think that he might have something. As far as being a dude who looks like a traditional pro wrestler. And look, do I mean he could be John Cena? No. He could easily be, like the Barbarian or something like that. Like a really solid mid-card guy or upper mid-card guy, depending on, what kind of charisma he has as a solo act. But Austin Theory wins the match. He continues to beat up Ridge Holland after the match. This led to Sheamus chasing him off, and Sheamus versus Austin Theory for the United States title actually next week in Madison Square Garden. That's interesting. I was perturbed, to be quite honest, because now I'm starting to really say to myself, why wasn't Austin Theory in the Money in the Bank match again? Is there a good reason why he wasn't in Money in the Bank? No. Is there a good reason why Lashley wasn't in the Money? Never mind. Karrion Kross cut a promo backstage about how he choking out AJ Styles felt phenomenal, and he's going to finish the match next week. AJ Styles cut a promo a little bit later, claiming that if Kross can't keep his poodle on the leash, he got somebody who will, meaning Michin. Michin is not a very good guard dog, by the way. She's more like the poodle. Remember, she was brought in to handle Rhea Ripley, and that didn't work out. So maybe Scarlett might be a little bit more in her wheelhouse. So AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross next week in Madison Square Garden. They could use a stipulation. This is like the third match that they've had. This is the second one-on-one match. They could use a stipulation, something special between the two of them. I don't know what it would be, but I don't know. Everybody who was bitching last week about no Shotzi and Bayley, well, you got it this week. Shotzi versus Bayley. If Bayley loses, she loses her Money in the Bank ladder match spot. The crazy United Kingdom crowd once again harassing Bayley, asking her to be their girl. Look, Auntie Pam does not want a English man. All right. If she wanted one, he would not be in that crowd. I could tell you that right now. How long before they started calling this sexual harassment? They serenaded her the entire match. But Auntie Pam does not want you dirty redcoats. All right. So leave her alone. I'm cock blocking. Leave Auntie Pam alone. Shotzi actually kicked out of the belly to belly suplex, which surprised me because that's Bayley's finisher. But then when I considered it, I was like, well, she did give her a couple of seconds to get it together. Zelina Vega was watching with pink hair. I don't understand that. Io Sky was distracting, interfering, and that is what led Shotzi to lose. As Bayley raked the eyes, hit the rose plant, got the pinfall, and got the hell out of there. It was solid. It was okay. It was one of the better showings for Shotzi. She didn't actually look like shit tonight. So great. Thank you very much, Auntie Pam, for carrying Shotzi to a decent match. After the match, Shotzi got in Bailey's face, which proceeded, and then Io and Bailey beat the shit out of her, and then cut her hair, and told Shotzi that she was done for, and that was it. So Zelina Vega and whoever else was watching, nobody watched Shotzi get her ass kicked and her hair cut. Okay, look, I've been caping for Shotzi for a long time, because I like the energy that she brings to the ring. I like the look, is very interesting. But she hasn't had anything she could sink her teeth into. I actually like the heel turn. I thought the heel turn was a good idea, especially with the look that she had with the heel turn. I liked it, but she's a natural babyface, and that is true. But now they've beat her up and cut her hair. So I'm guessing she's going to be the one that's going to cost Bailey the match at Money in the Bank, which would, I guess, derail the breakup of Damage Control. Or you could have her attack Bailey after the match or something. But they're going to change up Shotzi's look. I think a lot of people are believing that she's going to come in there with the short Ruby Riott hair. That could be interesting, but Shotzi, I don't know. She needs something, giving her the tank back hasn't worked. The helmet hasn't worked. It's just, part of it is that they're not using her to her strengths, which is her Daredevil, devil-may-care style, that she takes crazy bumps and almost kills herself. But then again, at the same time, she can't do that anymore because she's had like a serious back injury recently. So, I don't know. Maybe she's going to get stuffed in the tag team division. And maybe that's what this is a build to, is Shotzi having another new partner, which I'm guessing is probably going to be Zelina Vega. Shotzi, I believe, is Filipino, if I'm correct. So she's not Latino, But then again, isn't one of the members of Legado del Fantasma also Filipino? A quick Google search actually confirmed what I thought. Shotzi is Filipino, and so is Joaquin Wilde, who is in the LWO. And this is a very cursory look, so I'm not about to give you a history report. But apparently, Spanish is one of the languages of the Philippines, because it used to be a Spanish colony. So maybe they're going to integrate Shotzi into the LWO, and Shotzi and Zelina Vega will be partners. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but if it works, I guess. Technically, Filipinos are Asian. They're not Spanish, but look, none of us are secretaries of state. We don't know what the hell's going on here. Like I said, I just did a cursory glance just to satisfy some curiosity. All right, we got a Grayson Waller effect. Grayson Waller, who is not wrestling because he suffered a broken leg in NXT. It took us, 2 months to find that out. But even though he's not wrestling because he was injured, these still don't feel like Grayson Waller effects yet. They feel too much about the subject, not enough about the host. And these things only work when the host takes over the show. So anyway, it's Logan Paul is the guest. So of course he's talking about winning and all the things he could do. He could take the Money in the Bank briefcase and run around, or maybe he could challenge Seth Rollins, or maybe he could finish a job on the Tribal Chief or whatever. So LA Knight cut him off, says that Logan Paul's done a great job with everything that he's been handed, but the problem is he's been handed everything. While LA Knight, all the things that he's got going on has been due to his Kavorka. It says that Logan Paul calls himself a megastar, but there's only one megastar. There's only one. And then Logan Paul says that he's a megastar to who? He was supposed to be a manager. It called him a mega manager. Mega manager. How terrible is that? That was awful. Santos Escobar came out there. He's dead in the water. It's no good. Everything they took away from Santos Escobar, look, I'm pretty sure they're selling a ton of merchandise. That's great. That's mostly Rey Mysterio, though. It's got to be, but I don't know how they're cutting these checks when it comes to the LWO, but I hope for Santos Escobar it was worth it. Because the cool character, especially since I just watched NXT Great American Bash, what was this, 2020? When he was a Cruiserweight champion and he was talking about Lucha Libre culture being more than just a bunch of Mexicans in masks doing flips. And it felt like legit. Like the character had some teeth to him. Like he was trying to redefine what Lucha Libre was in the United States. And we have now just kind of scrapped all of that. And now he's generic Spanish-speaking Mexican guy. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. That sucks. This sucks. Anyway, Butch came out there and everybody started fighting. This led to everybody's triple threat match that they wanted last week. Butch defeated Santos Escobar and LA Knight. Oh my God, what is going on? Butch pinned Santos Escobar. What is going on? What is going on? Anyway, Logan Paul was clearly at ringside, kept jawing back and forth with LA Knight. Of course, this ends up with a big fight scene at the end, and everybody's fighting, and Butch ends up with the briefcase at the end. He teases the briefcase, which of course now he's not going to win, but everybody knew he wasn't going to win anyway. I'm willing to bet that they're going to reintroduce his bruiserweight theme for Money in the Bank, which is, I think everybody should have their own theme songs personally. I'm not really a big fan of the faction theme. You have the faction theme when the faction is fighting together. Everybody else should have their own individual themes, because at the end of the day, you are an individual. But Butch winning a match over Santos Escobar, ugh, that sucks. Poor Escobar. LA Knight, he lost. You win some, you lose some. But you live to fight another day. That's unfortunate. Everybody wanted this match too. They were so mad that they didn't get this match last week because Vince McMahon had to put his fingers in it. And now you got it and nobody cares, because this is almost exactly what happened last week. The main event of the show, Charlotte, Asuka, the worst match that these two have ever had together. What chaos. What the amount of botching and mistakes that were made. It felt like Charlotte was working too fast. Like she was trying to do too much, and Asuka was a little bit behind, trying to figure out what the hell was going on and why the hell Charlotte is moving so much. You had Bianca Belair. She bought a ticket to be at ringside. They, of course, mix it up with her outside the ring. She ends up getting hit. She jumped the barricade, attacked Asuka, got Charlotte disqualified. Charlotte then tries to get in the middle of this because, hey, you just got me disqualified. Bianca is neck rolling and lip popping at Charlotte. Charlotte does the old Maurice talk to the hand. So now they're fighting. And this led to Bianca taking no guff, hitting the KOD on Asuka on the announce table, and then doubling down by hitting Charlotte with the KOD on the announce table and leaving them both where they lay. Charlotte and Asuka usually have really good chemistry. This was terrible. In terms of in-ring chemistry, this was terrible. This was the worst match that they've ever had. They're leading, of course, to a triple threat match. Oh boy. But this is exactly what I said it was going to be. You're either going to have a disqualification or some other nonsense, but we're going to lead to a triple threat match. So here we go. So boring. No wonder they didn't do this on the pay-per-view. It was boring. They did, the final segment was Roman Reigns and the Usos. Roman Reigns came out there, said that for 2 years he allowed the Usos to say we're the ones. But they're not the ones. He's the one. He was the one who was the tribal chief. He is the one who is the head of the table. He is the one who loves and cares about the Usos, the one who lifted them up to the promised land. he is also the only one, that was willing to give them second chances. When they were screwing up, he was the one who was willing to give them a second chance. And he says, because he's the tribal chief, because he loves them, he's willing to give them infinite chances. A second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. All they have to do is bow down and apologize. And this is very magnanimous of Roman Reigns, of course. Very magnanimous. The Usos came out there. Jimmy said they're beyond apologizing. And says that Roman ain't been pinned in 3 years, but will be getting pinned at Money in the Bank. He says that he doesn't want to be the tribal chief. Jay don't want to be the tribal chief. But both of them, if they could choose, they would choose Solo. So Roman starts laughing until Solo starts looking at him, all cut his eyes to him, all angry and stuff. So now Roman gets fake mad, saying the Usos is playing games with him. He got in Jay's face, said, y'all some fake ass temps. Y'all ain't nothing without me. And then Jay shoved him in the face. At that point, Jimmy kicked Roman and the fight was on. They started to brawl all over the place. They did I think one of the Usos did a dive over the top. I think it might have been Jay. And they ended up bumping the cameraman too. So that ended up being really chaotic. So it was a strong segment to end the show. They're again teasing dissension between Solo and Roman, where now they're trying to make Solo the chosen one. Like, why can't Solo be the man? Like, because Solo is basically a damn rookie. He's still in his rookie year. Didn't he debut in like September of last year? He can't be the guy already. Come on, cut me some slack. But they are seemingly going to tease this. And I think maybe a creative way of the Bloodline Civil War ending is for Roman to walk out on Solo. Maybe Roman just gets frustrated and just walks out on Solo and just leaves him. And then he gets, of course, hit with a finish and pinned. And maybe that could facilitate the breakup. You know, I still think it's too soon to have Solo and Roman separate, but since they're teasing it right now, if that's the route they're going, I think that might be a better way to end the match, is for Solo to try to tag out and Roman's gone, you know, and Roman just took off like, screw this, I'm out of here. I'm a champion. I don't need this. I don't care about this. This doesn't matter to me. That might actually work. That might work. I like that. All right. So the episode of Smackdown was very, very pedestrian, and it was mostly because it was taped. They didn't want to do anything, of course, that would lead to it being spoiled. So they didn't take any chances. Very ring heavy, not much in the realm of promos or anything major. The audio on this show was absolutely dreadful. Like, it kept cutting out. It was up, it was down. It was one for WWE, who spend so much money on production. This is one of the most terribly produced episodes of SmackDown ever. This was shitty in terms of the audio, which is usually not a problem for WWE. But it was also a shitty show because it was just basically work rate shit, you know. So we saw interesting things. Guys from the UK got an opportunity. Ridge Holland, he did a job in front of his home crowd, but at least he got to go out there. You know, his first solo match in a long time. Butch got to win in his hometown. Which is fine, I guess. But there was nothing that led us to believe that anything special was going to happen. You know, they did one angle, which was basically Shotzi getting her hair cut. That was pretty much it. Everything else was just generic brawling, you know? So what did you guys think of the go home episode of Money in the Bank? Because this didn't make me more excited for Money in the Bank. I'm also not intrigued because apparently Dominic Mysterio is going to be in the main event of Money in the Bank. Look, excuse me, I'm all for giving a young guy a shot, but if you're going to have Dominic Mysterio main event this show, then why even have this show, if we being honest? Look, Dominic is probably the most over heel in the business, like legit. But that doesn't mean he should go on last. Now, it's pretty clear that if they do decide to put Cody and Dominic on last, it's only going to be because Brock is showing up. And if that's going to be the case, why spoil it? Why tell everybody that Dominic and Cody are going on last? Which basically tells everybody, hey, stick around because Brock is going to show up. But even if Brock does show up, the main story of the show is the Bloodline and the Money in the Bank. So either one of those two things should main event, not whatever Cody is doing. Brock can come back in the first match. Even though they're probably going to start with the women's Money in the Bank. That's my guess. He could come back in the fourth match, the fifth, or whatever. It's not like he's going to blow the roof off the building and then nobody's going to be able to follow it. There's still storyline stuff that can follow a Brock return. So there's no reason to have Cody Rhodes and Dominic main event this show. So something tells me that they're probably going to do some last minute shuffling. And it's not really going to close the show. Because if it does, then I'm sure they're going to blame it on Vince. It's going to be, Vince wanted, he demanded that Brock Lesnar main event the show. He demanded it. It was him and Cody. It was them. Yeah, it was them. Anyway, Dominic main eventing the show, not a big fan. So we'll see if that actually happens or not, but it's not going to really deter or destroy my enjoyment of the program. It's just going to be a weird thing that they did. And I'm probably going to be like, why did they do that? Like, why did John Laurinaitis main event shows all of a sudden? Like, out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's in the main event. Why? But that's kind of how I feel. But I think the Bloodline should main event personally. So. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys later.